Welcome back. I'm now reading chapter 24 of my memoir, Rebirth. If you just stumbled upon this video for the first time and you have no idea what I'm talking about, go back to the beginning of the playlist so that you can read or listen in to this story in sequence. I've been reading from the very beginning and I'm now reading chapter 24. So we're quite a bit through the book. If you like what I'm sharing, please like and share it so that it reaches the people who are meant to listen or read this story. Leave comments so that I know that you're here, so that I know what you're thinking, so that I know if you have thoughts, feedbacks, insights, anything about my story that might help me. You can leave a review so that I start to accumulate reviews for launching this book, which I hope to do this year. I'm very glad that you're here. And I'm reading chapter 24, entitled The Gas Station. Hey, Diego, my brother, I've now put in 10 liters of oil and it's finally starting to cover the bottom. Will you help me now? No, MJ. Okay, thanks. I hung up, staring at the phone for a moment before sliding it back into my coat pocket. A woman pulled up on the other side of the pump, window down. Hey, she called out. How long has it been since you put oil in your car? Her tone was sharp, annoyed, and raw, as if she was accusing me of breaching gas station etiquette. I turned towards her, unfazed, and flashed her my widest grin, filled with playful warmth. It's not my car. Her expression softened, then she burst out laughing. She hadn't expected my response. Oh, sorry. She was grinning too now. Your friend should really take better care of their car. Time slowed. I could feel my feet planted, my breath steady, as if the whole scene had widened, allowing me to show up with my heart. I nodded and smiled again. I know, right? I lingered for a beat, my weight shifting forward slightly, hoping she'd say more, but she was already talking to someone in the passenger seat, and her attention had drifted away. For a moment, the whole scene felt theatrical, as if I were on stage and the script was being written in real time. God truly has an amazing sense of humor. A line from Pierre-Éliott Trudeau's documentary floated into my mind. Life is a play. We all have to play our part to the best of our abilities. And then another voice. Life is like a big play, and whatever role we most resist is the one we get to act next. We draw in those things to teach us to love ourselves and the world. We're not here to judge or be positive or negative thinkers. We're here to be the love that embraces all sides. I looked around the lot, expanding my awareness, watching it all unfold. A woman in a minivan across the station stared directly at me, blank face, no attempt to look away when I caught her eye. I just steady, unwavering watching. I smiled. She didn't return it. I headed back inside for 2 more jugs of oil. The last ones in the store. I poured them in and the oil compartment filled. 15 liters, exactly what I needed. What were the odds? Maybe it was my lucky day after all. It was nearly 6 p.m. when I finally closed the hood, much later than I planned. I wish I could call Mauro, let him know what's going on, let him know I'm okay. I slid into the driver's seat, a flicker of hope rising, but underneath, a premonition. The car won't start. I inhaled deeply. Okay, God, let's see your sense of humor. Everything that had happened so far felt like a grand comedy. I inserted the key in the ignition and turned it. The engine turned over and started. Hallelujah. Joy filled my body, but then the engine stalled. I tried again. This time it struggled, but started before stalling again, and then nothing. I exhaled hard and dialed Diego again. Diego, my brother, please, I need help. The car won't start. Silence. Then a long, heavy sigh. MJ, I already told you. His voice dripped with finality. You have to deal with my brother. I know, I understand, I said quickly, but I'm stranded at the gas station. I've been here for over an hour. Mauro's home alone with Evelyn. I was just supposed to go to IKEA. He doesn't know anything's gone wrong. Then, nothing. Dead air. Diego? MJ. Another loud sigh. I already told you. But what am I supposed to do? My voice rose, more desperate. Yes, we should have asked you first, but please, I just need help now. Another pause. All right, he said, his voice hesitating. Where are you? I rattled off the intersection. All right, I'm coming over, he said, then hung up without a goodbye. Relief rushed through me like a heat wave, then quickly curdled into anxiety. Something felt off, something deeper than the car trouble. I could feel it, and it was making me restless. To pass the time, I called Brian. I had been meaning to talk to him. I had questions about my mom circling in my mind. I pulled out my notebook to review the points I jotted down to keep the conversation on track. But as soon as he heard I was stranded, the conversation veered. Leave the car, he advised. Call a cab. Go to IKEA. Let Mauro figure out the mess. It was supportive in a practical way, and it warmed my heart to feel valued, but it felt selfish, and I didn't have it in me to handle things that way. I wanted to own my part in this. My anxiety sharpened like a blade at the sight of Diego's black pickup pulling into the parking lot. I have to go, I told Brian. I needed to be present for what happened next, but his voice kept coming through the phone. Don't feel guilty, he said. Just go. Take care of Evelyn's room. Don't worry about the guy stuff. Let them deal with it. My eyes were lowered, locked on the dashboard, unable to look up when Diego appeared in my peripheral vision, a silhouette standing in front of the car. He tapped the hood once, then twice. I didn't move, frozen by overwhelm. Brian was still talking. Go, just go. You don't owe them anything. You shouldn't even be there. Let Mauro and Diego resolve this. Go take care of what you need to and get home to Evelyn. I thanked him, but I couldn't bring myself to leave. Tightness gripped my chest, and heat rose to my face. I felt stranded again, cornered. Humiliation and embarrassment weighed me down. I felt like a child again, waiting to be scolded. I noticed Diego's silhouette making its way to the driver's side door when he gently tapped the window. I have to go, I whispered to Brian and hung up. I forced myself to look up and was jolted by surprise. Still nervous, I rolled the window down slowly, manually. I never noticed how much you look like Mauro, I said. They've never looked alike before, but in this moment, they could have been identical twins. Only his curls gave him away. It was unsettling. Diego raised his eyebrow, caught off guard, then gestured to the hood. Pop it. I did, then stepped out and met him by the engine. After a brief examination, he announced, the engine's flooded. He waved at a man walking toward the convenience store. Can you help me push the car over there, he said, pointing to a nearby spot. I steered while they pushed. He pulled an oil pan from his truck and began draining the engine. He asked me for the oil jugs, so I gave him the collection I kept in grocery bags. I sat on the curb to chat, but it didn't land. His silence was deafening. Do you want anything from the store? I asked. I needed to find something to eat. Nursing meant keeping my energy and milk production up. There was nothing healthy, so I settled on almonds and dried fruit. At the counter, a man was arguing with the clerk, who looked flustered, ready to crawl out of his skin. I felt a pang of guilt. The extra tension I'd created with my car trouble still lingered in the air. I tried to make a joke, but it didn't lift the mood. Another man walked up to the counter with a cup of coffee and handed over a large bill. I can't change that, the attendant muttered, shoulders hunched. The man sighed and dug through his pockets. I'll get it, I said, handing over some coins. That did it. They both laughed, and the tension broke. I felt my next breath expand my energy field. I was here for a reason. Then a tap on my shoulder startled me. Then a tap on my shoulder startled me. Diego. My heart sank again. I need help sealing the bottles, he said. He'd poured all the oil back and thought it might be salvageable, but he needed the lids. I followed him out. It was darker now. The sky was colored with a thin pink stripe, and the cold was starting to bite. I dug into the trash for lids, handing them to him one by one. As we worked, he said almost apologetically, I should have noticed how much you were pouring in. Yeah, I teased, thinking, I think this one's partly on you. He didn't laugh. I'll take some of the blame for the oil, he said, stiff again. But beyond that, it's not my fault. I tried teasing again, maybe just a tiny bit. He shrugged. Blame is a funny thing. We all know we play a part, but it's hard to own up to it. 15 bottles, the number looped in my mind. Why hadn't the attendant stopped me? Why hadn't anyone else stopped me? I gathered my receipts and one of the bags of bottles and headed back inside. The attendant flinched when I asked about a refund. He was sweating now, clearly having had a rough few hours. Then something in his expression shifted, making me wonder if he might have a learning disability. I let it go. I'd write to the head office instead. It was strange, though, with all the people coming in and out, and how many people watched me pour in jug after jug, and no one said a thing. It was like labor all over again. So many people in the house, any one of them could have said, hey, instead of yelling at her, maybe you should help her pee. But no one did. No one knew no one knew the baby could not be born with a full bladder. Everyone just hung in, hopeful the best would happen. So many possible voices, all silent. It was fully dark now. The engine still wouldn't start, and fatigue was hitting me hard. I wouldn't make it to IKEA, and now just wanted to go home. Diego offered to drive me home in his truck and come back with Mauro to deal with the car. Feeling wrecked and defeated, I agreed. On the drive, I thought about our car. Mauro had been looking at new ones, and maybe I'd been squashing his dreams. A new car now sounded like a great idea. We needed something dependable to get around. My spirits lifted, and by the time we pulled up to the house, I was excited to share my afternoon with Mauro. I had emerged from something I couldn't quite name, but felt was meaningful. I wanted to reflect not just on what happened, but on how it felt, underneath the noise and outward appearances, like I'd stepped into a divine comedy and somehow played my part really well. I also wondered what things might have been like at home, imagining Evelyn crying the whole time I was away and Mauro anxious for my return. But the house was quiet. I found him sitting at his desk in our home office, typing away exactly as I had left him. How was everything? I whispered. Not much happened, he said, not looking up. She slept most of the time. Oh, I felt an unexpected sting of disappointment that I wasn't missed. Well, you won't believe what happened to me, I said, my enthusiasm spilling over. But I wasn't sure he was hearing me. He kept repeating, you must have been angry. I wasn't at all, I repeated, my body fully animated. I went with it. I felt part of something bigger. I was really present and felt so alive. He shifted in his chair and glanced over my head. Diego was standing behind me now, which only seemed to further distract him. Why couldn't he see me? Something in me sank, but I wasn't ready to give up, so I tried again. Can we go to the back room? He nodded. How do I show him there's something so much bigger at play? Once we were in private, I pulled him into a hug. I think it's time for a new car, I announced. I'm sorry if I've been in the way of that. But he didn't hug me back. Though he was right in front of me, he felt miles away. Maybe his mind was at the gas station. He wasn't available to see the importance of the moment in front of him right now. I have to go, he said. And instead of the moment I hoped would be intimate, I felt loneliness set in. I had just experienced the infinite, and I was the only one who could see it. And that is chapter 24 of my memoir, Rebirth. If you like the story, please like, share, comment so that I know that you are here following along. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe so you know when the next chapter drops. And again, I'm so thankful that you are here following along. I'm hoping to gather reviews for my book. So if you're interested in being one of my beta readers and writing a review for me for the launch of the book, this I'm hoping will be this year, please let me know. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next chapter.